Thank you.
OK, it's 6:42. Urgent action is needed to help protect our children from explicit content on the internet, according to a new report.
It suggests that online pornography is driving youngsters to take risks with sex. Well, Sue BERELOWITZ commissioned the report. We're going to be talking to Sue in just a moment, but first, here's what some of you had to say.
I think it's massively concerning. I think it does desensitise, and kids who have no other way of judging it take it as read.
It is very disturbing because it sets their patterns of sexual behaviour.
We all have access to so much information, and it's difficult to stop children having that access.
Well, let's talk to Sue now, who's the Deputy Children's Commissioner. Good morning to you. I know you commissioned this report. Were you surprised in any way by its findings?
I wasn't surprised by the findings because we commissioned this report because of the evidence that was coming out last year when we were looking into the sexual exploitation of children. And the reason we did it was because we were hearing these kinds of reports that children clearly were viewing a lot of pornographic materials, including extreme and violent images.
So I've got young children, you've just told me you've got grandchildren. What are the main things that you worry about for their sort of safety online with all these sort of imagery?
Well, what's worrying is that clearly children are influenced by what they see. So the evidence from this report is that when children view extreme and violent images, it's affecting their thresholds around risky behaviours, for example. That's a very important message for people to hear. We also know that there is a correlation between the viewing of pornographic material, particularly extreme and violent materials, and children who carry out extreme and violent acts, including sexual offences. What we don't know is which is the chicken and which is the egg. In a sense, we need to know more about that. But what we do know is concerning enough.
Taking off your Children's Commissioner hat for a second and, you know, talking as a grandmother and a mother, what would you do in your own situation with your own grandchildren? Well,
it's very important that parents, grandparents indeed, talk to their children from a young age about healthy relationships, respectful relationships, that they have an environment in the home where people feel able to talk about what's worrying them, and of course that needs to be age appropriate.
Should pornography be more a part of children's sexual education in schools?
We are asking the government to put very strong messages out to schools to say that they all ought to be doing relationships and sex education with children from a young age, and then also they ought to include in that curriculum pornography. So not showing children pornography, no, obviously, but talking with them about what they might be seeing so that if they're worried and they're upset, they know to whom to turn to get help.
And interesting that boys get more desensitised, according to the report, than girls.
That's an important finding, that there are gender differences, that boys are much more likely to be choosing to find these images. Girls are much more likely to simply to be shown them, to be exposed to them without, you know, making that choice themselves, and that they are reluctant viewers. They do not like looking at this stuff.
So it's interesting to hear from you this morning. Thanks very much for sharing those views with us today.
Thank you very much.
Still to come on the programme.